Yes, mental telepathy is possible. Hi, I'm Reverend Andrew Bozeman, and this is On the Wings of Your Mind. So the question of the day is, mental telepathy possible? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. As I discussed yesterday, it's important that we, as spiritual warriors, begin to understand and expand our awareness of what we see and hear and perceive every day. We must come to the unshakable understanding that our minds are much, much more powerful than we've been conditioned to believe. And one of the truths that has been denied to us is that mental telepathy is possible. Not only is it possible, it's something that we do every single day. We do it. Mental telepathy, as most of you already know, is a concept that is mostly discounted by so-called experts in the world of physical reality. But mental telepathy is something we all need to be aware of because it is already part of our lives. It's just that we ignore it. We ignore it because we're afraid of it. We ignore it because it doesn't make sense. We ignore it because if we pay attention to it, those around us will tell us that we're crazy. But the reason for all those negative reactions is that we have been convinced that mental telepathy does not exist, and I'm asking you from this point forward, please throw that lie out the window. Mental telepathy is real. Please, click on the thumbs up button below. And if you haven't already done so, please choose to subscribe, which is over there in the corner. And I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments and questions and suggestions. And you can put those in the chat box on the right side of the screen. Okay. Also, if this is in replay mode, then the chat box isn't available, so you could use the comment section below. All right. So one thing the naysayers and the mental telepathy deniers all have in common is they believe that we are all separate, that we are physical beings who are separated by physical space. They believe there's no connection between one human being and another human being. We're all separate and apart. They believe that we stand alone with nothing but air in between us. Nothing but air. They have no idea. So let me correct that conception right now, that misconception. According to science, peer-reviewed science, we are not separated at all. We're all part of a vast sea of energy. And within that massive sea of energy is the inexhaustible and incredibly limitless ocean of thought. That ocean of thought, according to Dr. Richard Maurice Burke, is called cosmic consciousness. He wrote a book about it. And he believes that the next stage of human development is when we gain open mental access to that sea of consciousness. When we're really open to it. This limitless ocean of consciousness. Now, the early Greek philosopher Anaxagoras called it universal mind. Today we call it infinite intelligence, knowing that it's a vast sea of thoughts, information, creative force, energy. So upon discovering that there's no separation between us at the subatomic level, J.B.S. Haldane said, as I mentioned yesterday, the universe is not only stranger than we imagine. It is stranger than we can imagine. The universe is not only stranger than we imagine, it is stranger than we can imagine. So it's time for us to open our minds and break through the barriers constructed by those who want to limit us to being powerless units of little controllable minds. We are not mindless automatons. We are so much more than that. We are individualized expressions of infinite intelligence, direct individualized expressions of infinite intelligence. There is nothing between us and infinite intelligence because infinite intelligence is within us. There is no intermediary that we need to go to or to go through to access infinite intelligence. We are imbued with incredibly more power than we give ourselves credit for. Universal mind, cosmic consciousness, infinite intelligence is constantly flowing with thought over, under, around, and through us. We literally live in an ocean of thought like fish in water. Our minds are like radio receivers within those millions of thoughts. And like a radio, we only pick up the thoughts that are relevant to us, that are on our frequency, that are relevant to our vibration, that have something to do with us in some way, which is people or things that matter to us, our families, our friends, our work, our interests. Those kinds of things will will be picked up by our antenna in this sea of thought in which there are trillions upon trillions of thoughts moving around. We only pick up the thoughts that have some meaning for us. And on the other hand, I talked about us receiving yesterday, but on the other hand, we also add to that thought ocean by sending our thoughts out on our own. Yeah, we are constantly transmitting thoughts out into the ocean of thoughts because we are always thinking. We are always thinking. We are always sending thoughts out into the cosmos, contrary to popular belief that our thoughts are confined to our brains. No, they are transmitted out into our auras, that electromagnetic field that surrounds our bodies and is generated by our hearts. And from there, they are fed into the greater energy field of the universe. So everything we think is out there. Everything we think is out there. That's why when an old friend thinks about calling you, you start thinking about them because you are already connected. Or vice versa. When you start thinking about an old friend, they might decide to call you because they've been thinking about you lately. Why? Because you're connected. It's a feedback loop. And if there's strong emotion involved, like a mother for a child, as I mentioned yesterday, then the connection is even stronger. Remember the motorcycle accident and the mother waking up in a panic the minute it happened? That connection is strong. And as spiritual warriors, we can learn to use the power of mental telepathy for the good of others. We can help heal others. Yeah, with our thoughts. We can help heal others. I remember in 1995, one of the members of my congregation was in the hospital. She was in the hospital because the doctors discovered a perforated ulcer in her colon. Basically, she had a hole in her colon, which was feeding toxic materials out into her body. It's a condition that has a high rate of death unless it is surgically closed right away. So she was in the hospital, scheduled to have surgery the very next morning. But she was scared, and she asked me to call the healing group I was the head of to help her. So I did. I called my group, and we went to work right away by going into meditation and sending healing thoughts, healing energy to her, working with the healing angels. When the doctors began preparation for the surgery the next day, they did another scan of her colon, and they discovered that the hole had healed overnight. Overnight. Studies have shown that people who are prayed for heal much faster than those who are not prayed for. Transmitting thoughts, transmitting energy, those are not crazy ideas. They are wonderful fact. And as I said earlier, our thoughts are always being transmitted out into the world. Always. So knowing that, let me warn you that when you work on yourself, the work you're doing on yourself to become a spiritual warrior, your thoughts grow stronger and they grow clearer, more focused, and they have more impact. Now, that's because most people don't have clear thoughts. Most people are usually thinking in a confused mass of contradictory thoughts, crashing into each other and canceling each other out. So as your thoughts become clearer and more focused and stronger, you'll find interesting things beginning to happen to you. For example, when you think of doing something like go to the store or go to the bank or to the Dairy Queen, do not hesitate. The reason is that once you have that thought, everybody in your vicinity is going to receive that thought, that clear, strong, focused thought. Now, they may have had the same idea laying dormant in the back of their mind, but it hadn't yet risen to the surface because they were not paying attention. So suddenly, your clear thought, boom, pops in and energizes their fuzzy thought. And they say, oh, I was going to go to the bank. So they will head in that direction as well. So if you act on your thought right away, and you get there, you will notice that a line begins to form behind you. Those are the people you woke up. But if you have that thought and then you start doing something else and you delay, when you get there, you're going to find that a line has already formed and you're at the end of the line. That's because you woke them up and they came and answered the call and you delayed, so you come in last. Think about it. Check it out. Pay attention. Pay attention to your surroundings. Pay attention to what happens around you. And you will begin to notice some interesting things. I can remember when I was a salesman for a computer software training company. I was actually the salesman and the manager of the Santa Clara office for this training company. And one month, I needed one more sale to meet my quota. It was 3 hours before the end of the sales period. I didn't know who to call that would give me that sale. So what I did was I sat down in my office and I put out a mental call for somebody to telephone me and give me that sale that I needed. Somebody, anybody, call me and give me that sale. 90 minutes later, I got a call from a training manager I had met with several weeks earlier. He had wanted to talk to some other training companies to compare before he decided. And what he did was he had decided on my company several days earlier, actually. But things got busy and it slipped his mind, and you know how life goes in the corporate world. But all of a sudden today, he said, something clicked in my mind, and I knew that I needed to call you and let you know that you won the account. You have the sale. It's what I needed. It's what I needed to make my quota, just in a nick of time. Or should I say, in a nick of mind. Have you ever walked into a room where an argument has taken place? You can actually feel the negative energy still hanging there. It's like, what went on in here? On the other hand, I have had the experience of walking into a room where people are agitated and kind of angry, and seeing them actually calm down as they feel the peaceful energy of my aura. It happens. You know, this is a time of great stress, tremendous change for the whole world. And as we progress through this period, there will be many doors opening and closing to determine what our world will ultimately become. We're in a state of flux. Peace, harmony, and prosperity is the eventual goal, at least as I see it. But these can only be attained if enough people are able to resist fear and panic, greed and anger. We have to resist those. It's incumbent upon us as spiritual warriors to rise to a level where we can, through the energy of our presence and the power of our thoughts, help bring about a state of well-being for those around us, who can also spread it to others. So it is critical that we learn to understand the nature of our power and how to use it, our mental power. It's time. It's time. So tomorrow we're going to discuss how you can use your mental telepathy to generate thoughts that beneficially influence those around you. Tomorrow. But in the meantime, let's close with prayer. Thank you, Infinite Intelligence, for bringing all of us together in this life so we may become spiritual warriors and join in the work we have come here to do. Thank you, Infinite Intelligence, for bringing us into this space of awareness and a deeper understanding of ourselves and our relationship to life and infinite intelligence. Thank you for showing us who we really are. We open our minds and hearts to the truth of our being. We are the children of God. We are individualized expressions of infinite intelligence. And because we are part of the greater whole, we're beginning to understand our value to the continuity of life on this planet. As we become channels of your power, infinite intelligence, we can feel your presence within ourselves and within our lives more and more. We know that as we feel your presence within our lives every day, we will rise, because we are no longer cut off from you by being immersed in the darkness of fear, anger, and the pain of unforgiveness. So we are now restoring our connection through the grace of forgiveness, knowing that as we learn to forgive ourselves for the pain we have caused to ourselves, and as we learn to forgive those who have inflicted pain upon us, our connections will grow stronger, and our lives will grow happier and healthier and more prosperous. And for this, we are truly grateful. As above, so below. As within, so without. And so it is. Amen. Please click on the thumbs up button below, and if you haven't already done so, please choose to subscribe. Remember, I would love to hear your thoughts, questions, suggestions, experiences. So please use the comment section below. In the meantime, my name is Reverend Andrew Bozeman. Thank you very much for watching. And this has been On the Wings of Your Mind.